Hello, and welcome back to our irregular but mighty podcast that has a code name of Happy Maybe, also known as Happiness Not Guaranteed. Nikita, how are you doing?
The secret fact is Happy Maybe was generated by ChatGPT after taking Happiness Not Guaranteed and attempting to find a domain name that isn't that. Believe it or not, Happiness Not Guaranteed is a wonderful name for a domain that other people had already come up with. So Happy Maybe is the name now.
.com exists for Happiness Not Guaranteed?
It's too long.
I doubt it.
Who's gonna type it out?
Who would
It's not catchy.
in their right mind? Yes, but we always have topics to talk about because we're both students of life and suffering and happiness. So what's going on? You went on a trip. Tell me about it.
The Happiness Nerds. That should be another name.
The Happiness Bros.
So just before I started recording, you were telling me how yet another person came up to you and asked that silly question. What was the question?
The question was, by the way, are you happy? Are you happy right now? Are you really happy?
What did you say?
I said, my silence should be the answer because I don't have a ready answer because I really want to give you a constructive answer. And part of me also really wants to say, yes, I'm happy unconditionally because I have conditioned myself with the help of the environment to think that happiness is the highest ideal and that if I say I'm happy, at least I'll aspire to be happy, even if it's not true. And that if I start explaining or asking additional questions like, what do you mean by happiness? What is happiness for you, dear questioner? Then maybe I can answer it better to satisfy their curiosity. But I'm not sure if anyone can even clarify this for me to get the right answer from me. So I will say the short answer is yes, unless I hit my finger with a hammer, or something, or unless I'm sick and there's nothing else on my mind other than getting better. Maybe then I'll say like, no, I'm not happy. But on the meta level, I'm happy always because I'll take what I can get. Every day is a gift, all this kind of philosophical stuff. Yeah, so that's my answer. There's never a short answer if you really want to get intellectual about this.
But I think that is the problem that we try to, there is an assumption that happiness is something that you can describe, which maybe you can, but I really like when you say that it doesn't seem like it is the ultimate goal of any kind, partially because it's not something that you can keep. Like, you can't become happy and then stay happy. Like, it's not something that you can continuously be, which makes it less, it's kind of like an unattainable goal in a way. I also like to say that the people who talk about happiness, and the more they talk about happiness, my general rule of thumb is less happy they are. What do you think about it?
People who bring it up to discuss.
Yeah, people who bring it up. I've heard some weirdos having like an entire podcast about it. That usually tells me that these people are not particularly happy, because happy people don't talk about happiness. Just like full people don't talk, like people who are full and they had a good dinner, they don't talk about food.
Well, I think your stance about this also says something about you, right? That you believe that it's even a substantial matter to like say that happiness is achievable, right? And that it's almost like the people who talk about happiness are not happy themselves, but maybe they're not happy in that moment, but maybe tomorrow they will be, because anyone can attain happiness at any moment and lose it at any moment as well. So it can be literally in 5-second sprints, happy, unhappy, happy, unhappy, kind of like that tale about the villager whose son got sick and then he didn't get drafted to the army.
Yeah, it's called The Why.
And all this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it can flip all the time.
No, it wasn't The Why. It's called Maybe or something. It's called the Maybe Tale.
Something like that. Maybe. Yeah, exactly like the theme of our podcast. So maybe those people are chronically unhappy, the ones who want to really get into the happiness question, like us, maybe. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not ready to make a judgment yet. Okay, let's talk about no.
The thing that I had about this, I had recent experience, and I kind of want to talk to you about it because I'm pretty sure you go through this yourself. Just recently, I came back from a trip. And as soon as I on my plane back home, I felt inspired. I felt very good. I felt happy, if you want. I had all these ideas about all the things that I should do. I should, write my blog more often and record a podcast and maybe try getting another education and then start volunteering and set up the routine to work out and blah, 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 blah. There's an entire list of things. And I felt so good. Like planning things felt so good.
What kind of trip was it? Like,
I went to Costa Rica for 2 weeks.
yes.
Kind of cool. Very refreshing nature. And then I caught myself being so sucked into the fantasy of the perfect me, the fantasy of all the things that I need to do. I'm like, okay, I know the answer. I know the answer now. This is exactly what I need to do. This is how I will become. This is how I will become. Apparently not yet, but this is how I will become happy. And this very feeling of planning all this felt really good. And then I remembered that time after time when I go travel and I get home, I have this bullet list of things that I want to do. There's always like, you should work out more often and eat healthy and, the usual stuff. And I remembered every single one of the bullet lists that I've ever written about this. And then I thought, wait, I'm doing this again. Does this happen to you?
Doing this again, as in returning to where you were before the trip, and not finding the new inspired routine as the answer to your ongoing sort of issues that you couldn't break up. Okay, so that trip really helped you, it inspired you. Now you have all these new ideas and the plan is set, but then you slide back and you think, maybe you start thinking, or maybe I start thinking, okay, I need another trip, because clearly the trip, it was the answer, so maybe then I will reset it. Like for me, it's like, since I travel quite a bit, when I choose a place and I decide to invest in that place and it doesn't meet all of my expectations, oftentimes related to building relationships in that new place, I start thinking, oh no, this place is not right for me because I'm perfect. Everybody should want to get to know me and hang out with me, but if it's not happening, if it's not going my way, there is a remedy. Pack up and go. Just go to the next place. And while you're at the next place, while I am at the next place, I have this grace period of like 4 days to 7 days of unrealized potential. I think anything can happen now. I can meet the most amazing people. I can get the most amazing compliments. I can make an appearance here and be like, whoa, this guy is not from here. It's really cool that he's here now. Welcome, and let's go. We're going to show you all the best things around here. I just need to show up, kind of like the what kind of effect it would be, Cinderella, I don't know, something. But when it's not happening, and the reality sets in that tells me that I need to do some more work or lower my expectations, then I'm thinking, okay, well, this place is not exactly what I thought it was going to be. Maybe it's time to pack up and go and have this unrealized potential felt elsewhere. Oh, here I am, new place. Anything can happen now. And let's see, if anything can happen now, amazing things can happen, so this is what happens. So I have to always work on my independent routine, morning rituals, being productive, staying in touch with people who are tried and true, people who are friends with whom I can have phone calls like we're having right now, that I don't need to prove anything to, that I don't need to establish anything with anymore, because we've been through most important sort of aspects of how relationships should go, and that keeps me grounded. Otherwise, if in this aspirational living, everything is very, very, very temporary. Yes, that's my answer.
I guess what I was going to is more similar to like the New Year's resolution kind of feel. Like the moment when you have the plans for yourself, the ideal plans for yourself. I don't have the right word. Is inspiration the right word? Like, what if you are inspired and then you are very inspired for a little bit, but then something happens? I don't know if it's you or me, but I think it's everybody. I don't know. It's the New Year's, or you turning. You have a birthday and you write it down, all the things that you want to do. And let's imagine that you're someone who, like me, who is struggling with the like a regular gym routine or physical routine. And then there are moments when I feel so inspired and so sure and certain that this is exactly how I will do it. This is exactly what I need to do. It's how I do it. And then that maybe can go for a few days, which is great. For a few days, I feel great. I just like, okay, I'm going to run every morning. I'm going to run the day one. I'm going to run the day 2. I'm going to maybe run the day 3. But then something happens. And something happens, and my previous fantasy about quote unquote becoming happy, like clearly something was wrong if I needed this. I'm like, okay, I need this to fix it. And then I'm not doing it. And then I'm back to the normal self. And then I maybe judge myself for not having the willpower that I'm supposed to have. And then I think, shit, maybe all these other people who read fancy books and who know how to do it, and they hack themselves to be able to do it. Or maybe I don't want to do it to begin with, and I should just let it go and stop fantasizing about being this kind of guy who goes to the gym and runs every morning. Maybe that's just not me. Is that possible? So the two questions I have here is the two questions that I have here is why am I and are we sort of fantasizing about this? Why does it feel so fulfilling, feel so good to imagine myself doing it? And why does it disappear eventually?
The gym example reminds me of how gyms are extra full in January every year, and then gradually towards December they get more and more and more empty. And I think it's a very common thing because New Year's resolutions have this power to push people to take action, sign up for classes, sign up for gym, learning languages and all this kind of stuff. And it's oftentimes not even about inspiration for me. It's about literally forgetting this stuff and not looking at that list or not having somebody to remind me. Like, hi, by the way, how is it going? You're thinking, how is it going? Why is it not going? I have no reason not to continue with whatever I wrote in that resolution. I just didn't think about it. Like, I'm not meditating. There's actually a book called Why Am I Not Meditating? And I haven't been meditating lately. There's no good reason. However, I've been reading books lately, and then reading books, knowing me today, like I used to read books when there was no internet, there was no smartphones and stuff like that. I would sit on the balcony on my summer break from school and read books. I would be super engrossed, and it was my entertainment instead of what I have today in the form of devices. So for me to read today is to give up cheap and easy and delicious entertainment of social networks, of watching YouTube and stuff like that. So it's an effort, and I make it, and I feel good about myself reading books, even if it's like 5 pages a day, because somehow I made myself remember it. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's so pleasant to read a book compared to browsing, Instagram or something like that. It's not an easy thing for me to just enjoy, but I train myself to still do it because there's some effect in there, and there's an exercise of being away from something else that I think is inherently risky to get used to so much, like browsing social networks and such. I think you've struggled with it quite a bit yourself, and made some sacrifices, right, by cutting off certain things from your consumption habits. Now, if you're inspired to do something and you stop doing it, maybe part of it you didn't want it to begin with. But I think the simple answer is that if you don't have really good reminders, and if you didn't have people in your life who remind you about this, it's very easy to slip into the default mode where it's like, okay, I don't want to waste my energy on this. Or you don't even think about it. It's subconscious,
Nearly every conversation I have with people and with you comes back to the freedom of will, inevitably. Did I want it? Did I imagine wanting it and I actually didn't? Or actually did want it, except that something else happened and then I stopped wanting it. There's like, if I want it, then why am I not wanting it continuously and able to motivate myself and discipline myself? I remember the other day I had there's like a couple of conversations I had about discipline in general. I have a friend who's also like struggling with getting all of her aspirations done, and she immediately judged herself for not having enough discipline. And then what I found to say to her was, don't worry about the discipline. Stop using the word discipline, start using the word inspiration. Like if you're not doing it, it's actually fine. But is it true? I don't know, because the other person I spoke with literally last week, he said discipline, and he gave a definition that stuck with me. He said discipline is the ability to do what you don't want to do. And that just broke my brain. Like, what do you mean? How can I do what I don't want to do? Then if I don't want to do it, then who's doing it and why? So I don't know, waking up to go to the gym or these types of examples. Whatever part of me doesn't want to do it. And yet there is another part of me that does. And then somehow one part wins.
I think in my case, I can trick myself into wanting something. Like today I went to the gym in the morning, and the day before I didn't didn't go to the gym in the morning. And yesterday I literally did not want to go, and I didn't go. And there were 7 reasons why I didn't go throughout the whole day, even though I had the chance to go between 6 a.m. and 11 p.m. There's plenty of time to go. Still didn't go, right? And today I went in the morning. I skipped like a happy cartoon character to the gym because my want came from, I'm a piece of crap if I don't go. Like I programmed myself to be hard on my silly laziness. Like I was like, okay, losing respect for myself, have to gain it back. And also, as a bonus, remind myself that going to the gym can be cool and fun because I have some stuff loaded in my phone. I have an audiobook on confidence. I have some breaking news podcast that maybe I saved for that day to listen to, something like that, and I was on a diet from podcasts, for 3 days. And now at the gym, I can finally do all this stuff together. So I like bribe myself. Like at the gym, you can listen to some cool shit, and this is the tricks I have to do to make those things happen for myself. Otherwise, I don't feel like it. They're just so impulse driven. Like, okay, I'd rather be eating ice cream and watching TV. But I told myself, no, you have to earn it. You have to do a couple things that you think you don't want, but that are good for you, and then you can do that. So these are do you have any tricks like this that you play with yourself?
Ooh, it works sometimes, but there is another part of me that so it's like in order for me to play a trick on myself, there is another part of myself that needs to want
Or wants to need
English, that needs to want to take to play the trick. Recently I became very interested in this type of psychology, or whatever, the framework of the mind that I really, really like, called IFS, which you might have heard of. IFS stands for Internal Family Systems. I'm currently reading the book. I'm no expert whatsoever, but I love the concept so much because it's so applicable to what we're talking about now. The internal family systems is this idea that you aren't a single individual, you aren't a single sort of person, mind, you are a multi-mind, you are multiple little things competing for attention at different times. Like multiple different individuals, multiple different characters within you, all playing different roles and wanting different things. And most of the struggle on a daily basis is having to have one part of your mind discipline the other part of your mind. And what you were describing fits really nicely because they actually have words for all these different parts. They call them parts, like the parts of the mind. Their terminology is the word part. And so if they were listening to this conversation, they would probably say, oh, you had different parts of your mind, one part that didn't want to do and one part that did, and one part that decided to shame you into it or otherwise discipline you into it. What interests me as of late is how can I find a way to avoid using shame or guilt on myself in order to motivate myself? Right? Because shame or guilt is a form of self-directed hatred. And I'm like, how can I make myself go to gym without having to shame myself into it? Like, how can I be inspired to go consistently? Like, I can be inspired once or twice, but how can I be inspired consistently? Yeah, it's more of an open question. I don't know if it has a good answer. Maybe it does. But it seems important to me, at least.
Yeah, I think as a general theme of our podcast, we're not providing answers. Yeah, we're just providing life observations, little things that happen to us. And it's more of an open question situation, which I like. Actually, I'm much more of a asking good questions, getting satisfaction from asking good questions or hearing good questions than getting good answers, because answers kind of settle things in a subjective way. If somebody has the answer for you and they have conviction about it, it's a temporary relief because there's so many things to continue to explore and navigate in life that may not be possible to encapsulate in a single solution. But I think you tell me this now and again that it's a sign of of some kind of a living and full of life sort of mind is questioning everything, right? And not settling with already solidified concrete concepts. And because this assuredness is I don't know, how would you describe that? Like, there's some definitely positives. Everybody knows about the positives of self-assuredness and competence, but what are the negatives in your mind?
There's another side of it. I would describe it as being rigid or being stuck or thinking that you know everything there is to know. I really like this. I forgot what it's from. I think it's like a Buddhist concept or something. It says something like, if you walk down the road and you see a Buddha, kill him. And this is just a metaphor to say that if you have discovered the solution to everything, you like found this particular book that answers all of your questions, and you finally realize that this book is the answer to all your questions, and that's how you need to live, is exactly by this book. Then the very next step in your personal development must be, what if that's not true? And what do I do? What else do I do? Like the idea of like, I see progress in personal development, if you want. I see progress in personal development as a series of establishing ground and breaking the ground to establish the new one. As soon as someone, I am very, what's the word? Skeptical is not the word, but very cautious about people who are unnecessarily sure that they know what they're doing. And I often trust more those who say that they no longer, they like, you know what, I've lived my life and I can tell you with assurance, I have no idea what I'm doing. And I'm like, oh, I trust you, actually. I trust you more than someone who say that they do.
Yeah, it can be.
And that's what I think I kind of always liked about you, for example, that you're given that just like all the types of experiences that you had in life, you seem to have come to the similar conclusion in some ways.
It's true. It's a forever humbling experience of looking for the answer, finding it, and still realizing that it's not really the answer. But the search continues. For example, I am currently on the market to possibly talk to a professional therapist, about my things. But we'll save it. We'll save it for another episode.
Wow, I'm impressed.
Yeah, and how scary it is to actually make that happen for me, to make the decision, happen. So yeah,
this is very interesting. Wait, you've never done therapy?
I've never done therapy. Yes.
Oh, amazing! That's what we want to talk about next time. Ooh, I'm excited.
Yes, and we're going to talk about how you feel about your inspiration and progress after some time goes by. Hopefully, you're still flying high on at least part of your inspiration that you gained from the trip.
Thank you, Vasily. Always a pleasure.
Okay, always a pleasure. Talk to you next time.
Bye.